The reason I want to talk about calorie counting is because when people ask me questions, often their first conversation starter with me is something about how many calories should they be eating while they're doing keto. Okay, so usually they're asking me this because they're struggling and they're not sure if they're overeating their calories, and that's why they're not doing well. And what I want to point out is that I actually think that part of the struggle is that you're counting calories at all. And I want to get started by talking about what happens if you calorie restrict while you're doing a keto or a carnivore diet. A typical diet is based on calorie restriction. And conventional wisdom says that you would have to lower your calories in order to lose weight. And I know there's even a number associated, like if you lower by a 1,000 calories per week, that's a pound or something like this, if I remember correctly. In that case, it makes sense to limit alcohol, lard, and fat, so fats. And it makes sense that you would still be able to eat sugar and protein because fat has 9 calories per gram, alcohol has 7 calories per gram, but protein and sugar only have 4 calories per gram. So the conventional wisdom is lower your calorie count, you will lose weight. A keto diet is based on getting into ketosis. Ketosis is a metabolic state in which the body breaks down fat into usable energy. The idea being that when you're in ketosis, the fat that we eat is used as energy, and the excess body fat on you could also be used as energy. Even a completely regularly weighted person, so if you're at your good, healthy weight, you still have fat on the body. The body always saves a little fat just in case of emergency. In order to get the body into a fat-burning state, we need to address the issue of insulin, because high insulin puts the body in a fat storage mode. When we eat fat, we will have the smallest insulin response. When we eat protein, we'll have a medium insulin response. And when we eat sugar, we have a high insulin response. And as a matter of fact, sugar is known to cause the highest insulin response in the body. And so now we actually have a problem. This is a direct contradiction to the calorie restriction model, because a typical diet says sugar is good, and a keto diet is saying sugar is bad. And actually, the problem that I have is that restriction model of dieting at all. Because by saying that fat is bad, we take it out of the foods. So we remove it from our meats. As you can see there, we are eating the lean cuts of the meats. If we're taking care of ourselves like we're supposed to, we'll be having low-fat dairy, and we'll be having low-fat mayonnaise. And if we end up having anything sugary, for example, like soda, well, then we'll just take the sugar out to lower that calorie count, but we replace it with stuff like artificial sweeteners, which are actually poisonous and cause cancer in our body. Wellness Warriors, I want you to really look at the fact that we think we can trick Mother Nature, and we can force our body into doing things that it's not going to do. We fake versions of sweeteners, for example, or fake versions of healthy things, because when we take the fat out of dairy or take the fat out of things where it's supposed to be, like meat, we leave ourselves in a situation where our body now needs energy, and we give it sugar rather than the energy it was originally looking for that was healthier, which was fat. If we just consider that we need protein to build, we need fat to build and repair. We need protein and fat. If we consider that protein and fat come together in most of the protein sources, sugar is something that we need to go find. We have to go get sugar, not in protein sources. Now, there's protein in vegetables. So I'm not saying if you eat veg, you're not going to get some protein. But my bigger point is, since our body builds itself on protein and fat come bundled together in healthy animal meats and animal products, why do we think then that it's a good idea to remove the fat, since it's a building block that we need? I know that when I make mayonnaise at home, I use egg and oil. That's the main ingredients of mayonnaise. And of course you spice it with spices and whatever, but egg and oil is the main ingredients. And that mayonnaise will only last 1 week in the fridge. But we will go to the store and buy low-fat mayonnaise, We'll buy any mayonnaise, as a matter of fact. I don't know why we buy it in the store. We can make it so easily. But we buy products in the store where they've added chemicals and they've removed the healthy fats for other chemicals and low-fat things that end up causing it to be shelf-stable, but making us sick. Keto is not a restriction model. Your body can manage 20 grams of carbs daily before it starts storing sugar away as fat. If you stay below that threshold, is that restricting yourself? The problem that I see is that if you ask a medical professional or a trainer that question, they say, yes, that's restricting yourself. You need to be eating fruits and vegetables. You need to be enjoying your life by eating fun foods once in a while. And so when you do a keto diet, when you do a carnivore diet, you are being accused of restricting healthy carbohydrate. The average adult who chooses to drink less alcohol than would cause them to become intoxicated is not accused of restricting themselves. They're seen as making a wise decision. They're seen as being responsible. If you choose to cut down or quit smoking, you're seen as strong individual who's choosing life. What is the difference? The difference is we don't acknowledge that sugar harms our health. And no matter what forms it comes in, whether you're eating fruit or you're eating chocolate bars, it's harming your health if you eat it in excess. That bowl of fruit salad, which would be considered a very healthy breakfast by many people, has about 80 grams of carb in it, versus that chocolate bar, single serving, 43 grams, has 25 grams of carbs in it. Now, clearly we would say that the chocolate bar isn't healthy for us to have for breakfast, and we should only have it in moderation in small amounts. But can I point out that both of these things that we would be eating, the bowl of fruit or the chocolate bar, is above the 20 grams of carbs per day that doctors are saying is the healthy amount our body can manage. Keto is about respecting that sugar in excess is toxic and therefore not allowing yourself to eat sugar in excess. And my question back to you is, do you still think that that's really restricting yourself? Or would you say, like with alcohol and cigarettes, that would just be a person being responsible? If you understand that sugar is toxic, you choose to eat foods that have less sugar. And you're therefore not restricting your sugar intake. You're just making better choices, because all of those fruits and vegetables that are there, and that's not all of them, that's just a subset of the fruits and vegetables that you could eat. Or if you want to eat an apple, eat enough of the apple to make sure that you don't go past your 20. But in fact, you can eat fruits and vegetables and other foods that include carbs in them, as long as you're paying attention to how much you're eating, as long as you're making sure that you keep your numbers in the reasonable range that would stop you from damaging your body. That's being responsible. I want us to think about something, actually. I want you to think about the fact that if I'm understanding how the body works, doing this isn't hard. But one of the things that we don't think about is the fact that we love to call addiction love. We like to mix up those words. We will chase sugar and we'll be out of control and we'll feel it. We'll know that we're chasing and we're craving and we're wanting something sweet and we're rummaging through the kitchen even though we just had supper and we know we're not really hungry. And we won't acknowledge that that means that you're chasing the sugar high rather than actually being hungry. And that's important. So by knowing this information, I think that there are two reasons why people are doing keto and still focused on calorie restriction. And the first one is that they're just doing it out of pure habit. You haven't really allowed yourself to sit down and understand why keto works. And so therefore, you're kind of mechanically doing the diet, but then still looking at your calorie number and getting nervous and potentially not eating to satiation because you need to stay under a certain number. It's important for us to eat to satiation on a healthy diet, because when I eat to satiation, that's what's letting me know that my body has enough protein and fat to build and repair. I want to caution you though, because most people who calorie restrict on keto end up hungry. Either they end up eating off plan, or they quit the diet altogether, because being hungry all the time it's ridiculously hard. It's painful. It's frustrating. Nobody wants to walk around hungry all the time. But that's what happens when we eat not enough, because we're trying to stay under an imaginary calorie number that our body does not understand. The second reason I think people continue to focus on calorie restriction is because we want to force our body to lose weight faster. And we think that if we eat less, then we're going to lose the weight faster. But our body will either, like I said earlier, push us to eat, and then we end up eating off plan, or not eating off plan, but eating more of the more carby things that are within the plan, which then puts us over our numbers anyway. Or the second thing that it ends up doing, if we eat less calories in general, our body will reduce the amount of energy that it's using. So eat less energy, my body will use less energy. Why? Because my body is smart. My body understands what it needs to get me through my day. And it's constantly looking at that. That's why we get hungry, sometimes for energy, because my body will send me to get energy. Here's the confusion. If we're doing a typical calorie restriction diet where fat is bad, what my body's going to do is take the extra sugar that I'm eating, store it away as fat, because the extra sugar is what makes it toxic. Too much sugar is toxic. But then now the energy that I could have gotten from that sugar isn't available to me because it's been stored away as fat. Getting fat for energy out of storage when you are not in a ketogenic state is not as easy as getting fat out of storage when you are in a ketogenic state. So what happens? My body needs energy now. So what does it do? It sends me off to go get energy. What do? Very likely I end up eating more carb-heavy foods because I'm doing a low-fat diet. Fast forward to, I've made all these adjustments, and now I'm eating healthy keto, but I'm still keeping my calories low. What am I more likely to eat when I'm in between and I'm feeling hungry? You'd be surprised how many people that I talk to that will make themselves a salad. What's a salad? It's a bunch of carbohydrates with a little bit of oil on it. What's my body going to do with that? That's a bunch of incoming carbohydrates with very little protein or fat. My body stores it away. And so I'm constantly hungry, and I'm constantly eating small amounts of quote unquote healthy things. Maybe I'm going to have some broccoli. Maybe I'm going to have some carrots, but I'm still carb focused because that's bringing in the least amount of calories. Focusing on calories isn't helping you. If you eat appropriate food, your body is going to heal, and then you will be stronger. And if you heal and you're stronger and your body is healthier and you are eating appropriate food, which means protein and fat, your body will go back to taking the energy from you. If you're more interested in weight loss than health, you make mistakes. You're going to eat the wrong foods. So protein shakes and all these diet foods that focus on the lowest amount of calories, or you'll do extreme actions like surgeries and medications and all the wrong things. And the problem with these things is not only does it not help us to heal our body so that our body can internally regulate and build itself in a strong fashion, but it keeps us on this treadmill of needing outside sources to keep us thin. Because I'm going to have the surgery or I'm going to take the medication, but I'm still eating the wrong foods. And then I'm back to needing to have another operation and some more medication. And right, or I'm going to need even more low-fat foods to stay. It doesn't work. We can't trick our body. A healthy body regulates its weight. And it's just something that we need to accept. And when we accept that piece of information, what you're going to see is that your body will, when it's healthy and you're eating the protein and fat that it needs and minimizing sugar that's causing damage internal, what you're going to see is that your body then starts to take the fat off. Now, if you want to know what signs to look for, to know if your body's actually healthy, you're going to watch 8 signs your diet is working. Watch that next.